Hi, I'm Karma Kitaj. I'm your host for A Livelihood, New Adventures as We Age. And today I'm going to introduce you to Alyssa Dver, and she has just written and published a new book, which is actually her fourth book, so we're going to find out all about it. It's called Misinformed.
Thank you for having me here.
And welcome, Alyssa. I'm so happy you could make it.
Same here.
So your newest adventure is to have published this book called Misinformed, Wake Up Wisdom for Women. And so I'm interested in finding out, where did you get this idea to do a book about this?
Everyone keeps asking me that, so it must be the question, and it's a good one, because unlike yourself, I don't have degrees in psychology, psychiatry, or any of that, but I kept working with and friending all these fabulous women. They were talented, smart, they were great mothers, they were great people in general, but they had this...
This was in your regular business,
in my
right?
regular business in my life over the last, few decades, and what kept striking me in seeing them, seeing myself, was this perpetual insecurity that would keep popping up every now and then. And I kept saying, I wonder if it's me or it's the people that I choose to be with. And then I started to ask questions. I started to kind of probe around that. I found some very interesting comments from people along the way. Things like, did you ever feel like this, where you say something and then you, for 2 days, regret it, and you beat yourself up and you don't sleep? And I'd be like, yeah, why would we do that?
I mean, second-guessing yourself.
Second-guessing yourself, but then really feeling badly about it. Or having situations with girlfriends where you leave and you're so frustrated and mad because they weren't understanding, or they said something that just really upset you, and then you don't know how to handle it. So I said, you know what, let me do a survey. And let me find out what's on all these women's minds about these kinds of issues that a lot of us don't want to talk about. So we wanted people to be very comfortable to answer those things, make sure it was very anonymous, very secure and private. So yes, the original requests went to people, but we were very careful to make sure we had no way to tell whose answers came from whom. So once we sent that out, it was pushed out from other people. So we don't know who actually answered the survey other than they were women. We asked for ages because we wanted to compare the answers across the broad band. We had people in their 20s, we had people in their 70s. So that's how, and then the data came in, and it was a natural, oh my goodness, I've got to share this information with women. And there was the book.
Did you find out something about let's say the older women over age 50 that seemed quite different from the younger ones?
I did, and it's really a good topic for the show, because I think that there were questions like some of the more benign ones, like do you consider yourself having a happy childhood? And the 6-year-old women were much more likely to say no than the younger women, and I don't mean just the 20-year-olds, but almost all the other age groups. And so I scratched my head and I say, well, is that because they're older and they're wiser and they look back and they've had kids? Maybe, they say, I did such a better job, or I want to believe I did a better job than my parents. I don't know. But I thought that's really strange, that why would the 6-year-old segment that we had very clearly have much more unhappy childhoods?
That was their perception of it. Huh?
That was their perception. And one of the questions was, would you, if you could go back without ramification to things like your children and your relationships with your friends and your family, would you remarry the same person that you did originally? Assuming that you were still married to them, because we did. Yeah, and we split the audience. There was a tremendous, about 1 in 3 of the women had already been remarried more than once. So we took those out of that mix, and we said, okay, for those of you who just married for the first time and still married to the same person, would you marry that person again? And again, the 60-year-olds were very much, yes, I would, compared to the younger ages.
As you were talking, one thing that occurred to me was that the older women probably didn't have the advantage of, having their parents go through the women's liberation movement, for example, in the 70s. And so maybe they were brought up in a way that involve more sexism and, you know, more restrictions or something?
Yeah, I mean, that would be my guess too, is that, you know, the parenting styles were very different.
Right. So what kind of wisdom are you trying to impart with this book?
Well, you know, it's funny, we really wrestled with the title for a long time because of that word wisdom, but I think there is wisdom in knowing the truth in a lot of cases. I'm not trying to diagnose or tell people how to live their lives, but rather give them a little comfort to know that everybody's got issues, everybody has problems in their relationships, problems as a mother. You know, we, as women in general, we always think we're not doing enough. We're not doing enough in our work, in our marriages, in our friendships, and the reality is everybody feels that. So whether or not we are doing enough or not, I'm not going to be the one to tell you that. Everyone has their own measures, but I think everybody's paranoid about it, and I think everyone has issues about finding their place in the world. The book really has roots in Maslowian theory, which is, you know, the basis of a lot of psychology, management theory, and so forth, that we really have a need to belong.
So, but I have the sense that just by reading this, you know, that people will get the sense of wanting to be more self-reflective, more self-aware, and by that, you know, to be able to make maybe a more informed choice about what do they want to do about it.
I think so. The other goal I had with the book is to really give people a little bit of coping strategy.
Right, and I think you just showed me a booklet that you use. Is it for like discussion groups that you hope will ensue from this book?
Absolutely. When I sent out the original manuscript for peer review, and I sent it to about 30 women, different ages, to get some feedback just of the content, a lot of them came back and said, boy, we'd really like to have this in our book club. We'd really like to get a bunch of women together over a glass of wine and talk about some of this. And I thought, wow, that would be great. So at the end of every chapter, and you can see this book is, you know, it's very small. It's 99 pages, very small. It's in a pocketbook. But at the end of each chapter, there are discussion questions for that purpose. And subsequently, that's why we came up with the cover, because of the coffee, the idea of being able to sit with a couple of girlfriends and talk through some of these issues that can be very funny and almost cathartic when you talk about them, but it can be really good strengthening of your relationships with those people too.
So I'm interested to know a little bit about where you've been before you did this, because I know you've done a lot of things, and I think you've told me that you enjoy reinventing yourself.
I do.
Maybe every few years, and you certainly, it sounds like you have.
I don't see myself as a huge risk taker, but I guess in some ways I am, and that's one of the points in my life I have to remind myself that was a big risk. But left the corporate world, and I started a company that I really felt passionate about, and to this day it saddens me. It's the one venture that I still think, you know, maybe it was the wrong time, place, but it was all about child safety and how to prevent kids from getting lost, because as moms with young kids, myself, my friends, everybody would say, we're going to the mall now, don't run away, and nobody knew what to really do. So spent about 2 years doing research, doing more surveys. I'm a marketer at heart, so surveys always good validation. And found some really best practices and ways to keep kids safe in public places. And so we developed literature, and then we developed a whole line of products. And the feedback was always so positive. People loved it. And to this day, I mean, I think even when you saw it, you said, I love that, and it's great. But as an entrepreneur, it was a very profound lesson. I don't know how else to put it, bittersweet in some ways, that people can love something, they can love a product, they love the idea, but the difference between loving it and paying for it is vast.
Alyssa, we have just a few more minutes, but I want to make sure to mention that you also did the Mom Matters program. So can you say in 30 seconds what was that about?
It was a very early web TV design show to teach moms about issues that they just didn't have the time or ability to learn otherwise. And it's still out there if people want. It's mom-matters.com. And it's all over YouTube and so forth, but about 40 videos that are really quite interesting.
So, well, thank you so much for coming, and I enjoyed finding out about it. I will enjoy reading the book also.
Oh, very good. Well, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.